So when you go to downtown Nashville, you're gonna see the Batman building. It looks like a Batman head, and it has these two antennas on the side of it. It's our most iconic building of our skyline.
So one of the designers on the Batman building built his home underground somewhere around here. There it is, on the right. Caution, steep driveway. Oh, there it is. There it is. That's the underground. Wow, hi.
Hi, welcome.
So you were just underground.
I was. As you can tell, it's actually been dug out of the top of the mountain here. And you go through these stairs and you actually end up 9 feet underground by the time you get down. So what happens is that you transition right in here, and then you're in this very magical underground space.
So from here, like, you see that there's earth above you. Like, you do see that you're inside, you're below.
Yeah. So from the totality of it, you are about 18 feet underground once you get to the very lowest level here. This house was built in 1983 by a man named Gene Tidwell, who actually was one of the designers on the Batman building, which is the AT&T building in downtown Nashville. So you're actually going to see some steel on the carport side that was left over from that building. He must have been quite the visionary. So Tennessee is on bedrock. So you actually, to do something like this, he knew I can actually dig at the top of a mountain rather than at the bottom of the street. So what he did is he came up and he trenched, so he used his excavator, trenched the top of the mountain here, and then he trenched down, dug the dirt to the sides, then he built the concrete walls, then he backfilled all of the earth over it. So we have beautiful grass, a beautiful lawn up there, and he incorporated 2 huge skylights, which really make it feel light and airy inside too.
So you found this for sale?
I did.
And because it was kind of run down?
It was so run down, it looked really, really bad. It had been on the MLS as the longest listing. It had been for sale for 7.5 years. I think that it just got lost. Like, I think it looked so bad that people didn't understand that it was an underground house. And I think people were just like, that looks like a horror film house.
But just look at these things.
And do people even understand what an underground house is?
I don't know that I even understood what an underground house was.
It's gonna be badass.
I know it is. Nice. You understand the fundamentals, and then all of a sudden you're going, oh, how do you fix that? Or, oh, how do you put air conditioning in there?
We'll open up so that we can go from the back of the house to the front of the house.
So you can see here, there probably was just a hill.
It was just a hill. So when you're actually down there, you can see where he just scooped up the top. He moved a lot of dirt over to this side, and then he trenched in really long. It's 106 feet from the front of the house to the back of the house. And then it's 42 feet wide. It really makes for like a very spacious environment. And he did something else. He built this house in a very similar way to an Italian villa. So the house itself is actually a spoke and pinwheel design.
Oh, I like.
So the cool thing about it is that when I walked in here, it was in really, really bad shape, but I walked in and I went, I can do a European style design in this house because the person that built this clearly with so much love and imagination and thought. That's why it's got some very European influences to it. So from the outside of the house to the inside of the house, it actually brings in a lot of elements from the natural world. And when you come in, you can see straight through. And this is very much of a way that you see Italian villas built. When you go to Tuscany, a lot of it is the communal gathering space in the center, and then it fans out into the sleeping quarters and the bathrooms. So it just says, welcome, come.
This threshold has something special going on here, right?
Yes. So this threshold was a labor of love. My guys are concrete experts from Mexico City, and I wanted to honor them in this. So I actually got what's called Mexico Black Beach Pebble, and they hand poured all of this for me. It used to be kind of a brick. It wasn't helping the design. So they pulled all that out for me, and then they re-poured, and then they hand laid all of this. So can you feel how good the air feels in here? Yeah. When I designed the house or redesigned the house, I knew that I wanted to have a really good eye line so that you felt like you could see everybody and everything that was going on in the house. And then when you wanted to retreat to the bedrooms, you had your privacy. So here is kind of this wonderful, it's 196 inches. It's probably one of the biggest kitchen islands. But you're probably asking, where's the fridge? The fridge is actually in the galley kitchen. So you're still able to have all of your major appliances, but I didn't want to have that high vertical that killed this eye line. So that's why we kept this open.
So here we're 9 feet underground,
Here
or more.
Here we're more than 9 feet underground. Okay. So here we're about, I think that we're about 22 feet underground right here. So it's very unique because you do have the skylights. So you know that you're underground, like you can mentally know that you're underground, but you physically don't feel like you are underground. And then because of the layout of this house, I knew that I wanted to do the dining room under the skylights. That was really important to me, that when you had like this communal gathering space, that you still felt like you were kind of outside, that you were still, you know, had the benefit of being inside. So back to like the Italian villa. So the Romans actually, when you go to like Pompeii or when you go to Rome, you actually see these homes, these grand villas that have like your entry. So like your salon, then it's your dining. It's very much welcome. And then onto the sides, it fans out on that spoke and pinwheel. So you have your living quarters where people get to have their privacy. So the cool thing is that you have your bedrooms on the sides, so people can retreat and be alone if they want to, or they can come into this room, they can come into the living room behind you. And the great thing about the living room is that we're 28 feet by 13 feet in here. And that really lent itself to doing a split design, so that if you are wanting to read by the fire, you have this side to yourself. I don't love living rooms where the focal point is a television. Then on this side, it's like, yeah, okay, you can watch TV, the game's on tonight, whatever it is. All of the greenery that's in here are artificial plants. Unfortunately, in an underground house, I won't be able to keep anything alive because there's not enough light, but it still makes you psychologically feel better.
So there's a type of surface with some sort of...
Yes, so this is actually a window film. But when I bought the house actually had this on all 3 of these walls. So it was glass panel. Unfortunately, the glass had started to kind of deteriorate. So I took down these 2 walls. They were not support walls. So as you can tell, these are the giant railroad ties. So this is actually the main structure of the house, is the concrete block and then the giant railroad ties that came in. But this was all around, and I was looking for a way of making this beautiful, but keeping some, I like to bounce some light around, and I like the sparkle. Yeah. But there's also, we kept a lot of the original doors, and we also utilized other film, glass film. So this is the linen pattern, because you want to have some privacy in a bedroom. So you can really see the linen side of it, and it gives you just enough privacy.
Yeah. So here you see that you do see some outside, like where we pop out.
Yes.
Because this is the top of the hill.
It is. I think that when he was designing the house, he knew that people were still going to need to have some light. Mm-hmm. So he did keep some windows, but you can open everything so that you can get some of the outside in. So it's kind of nice to actually hear the birds chirp, and all of these windows open too. But it's neat because while you are underground, it is nice to still have some natural light, so you don't feel like you're living in a dungeon. Yeah. So.
How many bedrooms do you have in here?
This is 5 bedrooms.
So how many square feet?
2,800 square feet.
So that's a lot of space to dig out.
A huge amount, yes. It's pretty cool because when you get up to the top, you do actually see that you are standing on top of the house. So it's very Hobbit. It is very like you're in the Shire. It's one of the most beautiful things about being up here is you do see so much wildlife. Oh, it's fun, come, yeah. So the cool thing is that you can actually see the dining room. These 2 skylights really produce a wonderful amount of light. You get to see the sky, you get to see the stars at night. Not many people can look up from their dining room at night and see the stars. And then this was Gene's garage.
So you can see that the main house is really one level down.
Yep, so here you can see you are standing on the roof of the house. That's why I planted these to basically say, hey, you probably shouldn't jump off of this. It might be dangerous. But there aren't that many people that get to get on the top of their house every day.
You mow it?
We do mow it. We are still seeding back in a little bit of grass because we did have to trench out for new electrical. And some of our infrastructure is actually up here.
Oh yeah, what do you have up here?
Okay, so the white tube is actually to mitigate radon. Radon is really dangerous. It causes lung cancer. And just as a safety feature, we went ahead and installed a radon mitigation system. Anytime that you're underground, most basements usually have that issue in the South. So we felt very strongly that we needed to just go ahead and fix that. And you can actually hear it. So that is a fan that is running constantly. So what happens in the southern states where radon is a problem is that if you put down concrete, so you're supposed to put down gravel and then concrete. And what happens is that you get gases that get stuck under the house. What's happening is that that was dug down through the fireplace and we took out the whole core. And then once it gets down to the gravel, what it's doing is it's constantly sucking the air up and out so that it never has time to become radon gas.
Is that a heat pump or just HVAC?
It is a heat pump.
Yeah.
So considering the weather in the south, how does the fact that the house is underground affect the whole experience inside?
So because of an underground house, you have that thermal barrier, so the temperature remains really consistent in here once you get it to the temperature that you want it. So a big part of my design process in this house was incorporating as much of the natural world inside as I could. So this is all Tennessee Red River rock that we did the facade with, that my guys hand laid. So all of this was not here when I bought the house. It was railroad ties and it was kind of starting to decay and look really bad. So we pulled all of that off and we put on this. It's about 5,000 individual stones on this side and that side. I think that they're just really beautiful because you also start to get the patina and a little bit of algae and things. So this is actually, you can tell that it's dry in here. It is French drains for around, the most permeated part of the house is actually going to be the skylights. So what I did is I trenched around the skylights and did French drain so that I know that if we ever get water in these, that I need to be concerned. So when they're dry, I love it. And I've actually put so much galvanized steel and 5 layers of vinyl that they probably will never have water permeation, but you never want to have that question mark on a house that's underground. Water is your biggest enemy. I hand stained every single board in the ceiling. I am a ceiling person, so you can see that what we did is we took 2x6s and we cut them to size, and then that allowed for me to have more light in here. So when I said that I added 100 light fixtures, these are the light fixtures that I added. So all of the downlights that really keep it nice and bright and airy in here. I actually put all of these on the wall. So this was my mortar job. Don't look too closely because it's not great. But all of this rock was actually just scattered around on the outside. I think that before Gene passed away, he had thought about doing this because he had put up a little bit of it right behind you. But you can tell my mortar skills got a lot better from here to there. So, and then I also did it down this hallway too because I felt like it was really, really pretty. And then I lime washed the stone because some of the stone had more browns or more greens in it. And I don't usually love to paint everything white, but it helps to really move the light around in here. So there were no bathtubs in this house. So we actually cut up the floor and I found my sewer line because I knew that there was going to be a sewer line running from there because the bathroom, the primary bathroom, is right past that wall. So I knew that there was going to be a sewer line running because of the way that the septic tank is right straight out that way. And we got so lucky. I can't believe how lucky we got. We came within probably 1/4 of an inch of accidentally cutting into the water lines.
So you just had to dig to find where they'd already...
We actually dug out the concrete right here. It was a Hail Mary. If it wasn't, then I was just gonna fill it back in and this was gonna be utility closet. So that got added. And then I love Art Deco and I love this paneling and I found it at Habitat for Humanity for $4 a panel. I think that a restaurant had bought it and then it didn't work in their drop ceilings or something. But I'm a ceiling person. So the bedrooms I tried to keep as warm and cozy as possible while also making it feel clean. And again, with the window film for privacy.
I think that this linen is what keeps it so light, maybe, right?
It lets the light, because from the skylight, then you're still getting some light in from here.
Because from both sides, you're getting light. You know, kind of glows, a glow box, maybe, right?
I like that, a glow box. Yes, that's very, very accurate. But that is also a testament to Gene understanding lighting design. And you have to remember that in 1983, this would have been unbelievably expensive. Just getting stuff up here, just getting plates of glass this big, he really went for it. He really said, I'm gonna do something that isn't done. And I think that he's just so visionary in that. This area was kind of a sunroom. I wanted to have it be something more, which is why I put a game table. And then in here is another king size bed.
You know, it's really interesting because he's gone, or you have gone darker here.
I have.
That's you. Okay, so just decided that this is sort of the cozy, like...
Shut the door, you can tune out the family. I wanted for people to also be able to feel like they could burrow a little bit if they wanted to.
Burrow is a good word, right? That's how it feels. It suddenly changes how you feel. You do feel...
Very much so. And then we did keep some of the original doors, again, with the linen. So when you do want your privacy, you still have the light coming through.
This linen is something, is it Southern? Is to put linen in a door?
Very Southern. In the South, before the advent of air conditioning, people used to use cheesecloth and screens. It's nice because you still have the privacy, but you still have light that is coming through on both sides. So
before air conditioning, you would just have seen this like
cheesecloth,
just floating down.
Absolutely. And also to just tune out the world. So if you wanted to have something a little bit cozier and you wanted your privacy, all of this, of course, it's a little on the theatrical side, perhaps. But if you add softness to your space, it really does help in making that environment much nicer. And
it's also not so permanent. It's just this flow again, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Very much about the flow. And I do have to brag on my friend. So my friend Ben Cartwright is a local carpenter here, and he made me the countertop, and he made me these 2 tables to really kind of bring everything together. I really like having all of the open cabinetry. You just kind of feel like you're in a different world if you say, hey, these are ornamental objects, but there is beauty in displaying them. And the last bedroom. So So this is where I like to call this the garage. This is my commercial grade dehumidifier. So this actually pulls all of the moisture out of the house and keeps it at the perfect pH balance. And then right behind you is the most expensive thing, which was the electrical upgrades. We actually had to trench down about 9 feet to get new power here because we were severely underpowered in this house. Underground electrical is no joke. So again, the pebble from Mexico Beach, and it doesn't really necessarily cost all that much more. If you're gonna be pouring concrete, do it right.
So this is a real like hand kind of...
All done by hand. So I liked it because what happens in the winter, if we do get some snow or ice, because the rock is black, it will help to melt the snow and ice because the sun will reflect back up through it and it stays warmer. Because of the steep incline of the driveway, we actually have for traction and then cantilevers, ground gutters, all manner of keeping water away from the house. So here you can see how it is underground. So you can see where he built it back up and he actually put in the telephone poles as part of the infrastructure of the house so that it really kept the slate and dirt that way. Just this very small part of the house is actually not underground. This is the only part that is not underground. But then when you go over to this side, it's where I think you can really best see how underground it is. And this is still not the deepest. So the house still kind of goes deeper into the hill as you go this way.
Do we see railroad ties up there?
Yes. The railroad ties, it's where you actually start to see how the house was built. So it's those railroad ties that you see from inside that you are seeing again on the outside here. And that starts off the way that he laid the railroad ties. It must have taken him so long to do something like this. I'll never fully understand how he did it. But this steel is actually leftover steel from the AT&T tower, the Batman building. So, which is pretty cool that he brought it all the way up here. I mean, the weight of that, just getting it up here. But it's a very smart construction too, in the sense of like block and wood beams. The actual cost of materials would not have been extreme because as a contractor, he would have been able to get preferred pricing on those materials. And also when you think about the weight of that much land mass, you need to be building with concrete block, reinforced with rebar. Yeah. So do you see the slate formation there? So that's my natural rock. He really understood what this mountaintop was. And you can really see from here, the elevation change, like that's the street all the way down there. And then, I mean, you're climbing all the way up here. So all of this is slate. You can actually see it, like parts of it crumble.
Yeah.
So Tennessee is on bedrock. Oh. So you actually, to do something like this, wanted to have the dirt that came over millions of years. So what he did is he knew I can actually dig at the top of a mountain rather than at the bottom of the street. Pretty smart. He really knew his stuff. Dirt is fascinating, and people that know how to move dirt are amazing. This is slate. So what happened here is that this is actually part of how he crumbled up the land. So like when I say that he like dug it, he dug the big, huge pieces like that then became smaller pieces, that then became even smaller pieces.
As he dug.
Yep. So he crushed it all up and made this elevation the way that it is. What he did is he dug all of this flat, pushed the dirt to both sides, and then once he got the concrete block in, he backfilled the earth over it and kind of tucked the home into its little sleeping place. So it's like a little bear den.
I can see why. What I like so far about Nashville, this whole area, is the fact that it's very hilly and the trees are beautiful. They're very big and majestic, and then it's green. So I can understand why he would just think.
Absolutely.
This area is Nashville like a place you come if you like
Music industry.
music, huh?
Very much music industry. So Johnny Cash actually owned the house on the other side here. So some of the biggest musicians in the country music world lived in this area.
So he built Batman building.
He was one of the builders on it.
So would you say that this is kind of the Bat Cave?
That's so good.
Because it's not a Hobbit house that's sort of like in the earth. You feel the earth around you. It's dark. It's actually like somebody who had the ability to sort of.
If Bruce Wayne was really into, if he were really into Mediterranean.
Yeah, Mediterranean villa. It's Mediterranean villa.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's very true. I like that.
It could be this side of him that is more chill.
I love that.